Hi, my name is Caleb. I'm one of your hosts for the Galactic Table, and welcome to this video where we're going to be looking at 6 of my custom 1/12 or otherwise 6-inch Star Wars figures. These are 6 that I picked out for this video. I have some more along with some 3.75 scale figures that I'll probably show you too if you'll like this video. Let's get started on these 6. I'll go over each one, get you some cool close-up shots of them, and we'll talk about them and check them out, along with some maybe just generic tips on how I made these and how you might modify some figures too, so you can have some cool custom figures in your collection. So we're going to start first with this Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. Let's check him out. Okay, this is the Din Djarin Mandalorian. This was the Mando Credit Collection figure. I think it was an Amazon exclusive. So what this was is it was a figure with a different color palette based on concept art for the Mandalorian. And it's in his pre-Beskar armor. And it was a really cool figure. I really love it when we got takes on figures where they have alternate costumes or colors for their costumes. And so I really was drawn to this figure. And he is also not so much of a custom figure as he is more so maybe just modifications on what was already done. What I did was I gave him a soft good cape. This is some denim off an old jacket. The figure itself comes with like a green cape, so I found like an old green denim jacket and made him a cape out of that, and it's glued here so it just kind of looks like folds in there, so it's not just one straight piece of fabric showing. I want to give it some realism by giving it some folds and wrinkles, which is why I just kind of would fold it over and put a dab of glue on there to hold it in place. So that I recommend doing across the board on any Din Djarin Mandalorian figure, because all of them come with a stiff plastic cape. It looks bad, it's lousy, they don't sit well with it, and it just doesn't look good. So as soon as I take them out the box, I get rid of that plastic cape, throw it away, and make them a soft good cape. You'll like it so much better. And also what I did on him to make some modifications was there's some dents and dings and scratches on his armor that were molded into it but had no paint on there. So there's several spots like here on his chest, up here on his chest, some on his shoulder armor up here and back here, and on his knee pad where I just went in with some silver and painted it. These on his leg also were not painted, so I painted those silver, and I think these detonators too. I bought a new head sculpt for him. This came from a seller on eBay, goes by the name of Watto's Scrapyard. I'll include a link down below to his eBay shop. I think he's on Etsy too, but it's a completely different head sculpt for his helmet because the Hasbro Mandalorian head sculpt looks awful. It's really short and squatty, and the back of his head is really kind of oblong, and it just looks bad. So one thing about the Credit Collection Mando was he's got some like green splatter on him. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I like that, so I put it on his helmet as well. Just some green paint to make some green spatter, along with some additional just battle damage on him, and I think he came out really cool. So that's the first one. Next we'll take a look at my custom holiday special Boba Fett. This is one I really like, so let's get in and check him out. This was one I made using the Black Series prototype Boba Fett, so it's the all-white version of Boba. I picked that one because in the holiday special his flight suit seems to be a little bit lighter than regular Boba, and that's how it's made on that all-white version, the prototype. The rest of this figure was pretty much a simple repaint. The only thing I did that was a little bit complicated is those little spats that are on the bottom of Boba Fett's ankle, which when we look at JodoCast, I'll give you a better example of those, is I took a razor blade and shaved those spats off because the holiday special Boba has his pants tucked into his boots, and they're a little bit taller in the holiday special, but I wanted to leave his pockets with his tools on there, which he doesn't have in the holiday special version. So I did that. I removed those spats. I modified his belt some. He's got an extra strap here. I removed his additional pockets that were hanging off of his belt. And that kind of sash that Boba has underneath his belt, I got rid of that. Two, repainted the jetpack. I kind of gave him the weapon seen in the holiday special. It's a modification of, I took one of Mando's pulse rifles, cut it in half, and I actually took like the weird staff thing that the 3.75 holiday special Boba Fett comes with, the one that Hasbro actually made that's a holiday special Fett, and I just spliced them together. I should probably paint the whole thing and it'll blend a little better, but it looks pretty good. Holiday special Boba Fett is one of my favorite appearances of Boba. I think it's one of my favorite looks that he has, so to have a good holiday special 6-inch Fett in the collection is pretty cool. I think we could say that this was a canon look that Boba has, not only because of the holiday special, which I think was sort of made canon with the mention of Life Day in the first episode of the first season of The Mandalorian, but in, I don't remember if it's Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi or both, on Boba Fett's armor where the green paint has chipped away, you could see a yellow layer underneath and then the silver of the bare armor. So if there was a yellow layer on there, that tells us that at one point in time it was painted yellow. So I'm going to say this was an official canon look of Boba. For his cape, I took the old cape off and I traced that shape onto just a piece of brown, this is flannel, and I just painted that stripe on there. I took an iron to it so it would hold its shape, and that, my friends, is the holiday special Boba Fett. This is one of my favorites. Next, this one is a little bit vain, but it's a figure I made of myself, so let's check him out. Y'all remember hearing about Texas being snowed in for a long time? Well, I think that's about when I made this, because, well, I was bored, and so this is what I decided to do, and I could use it in my toy photography, and it's just kind of fun to do something like that. You can, especially with the toy photography, it's kind of a fun way to throw yourself in there, and well, it also makes good for like background characters too, when you want random just characters and backgrounds if you want to fill up a scene or something. So I made this one. The base of the base figure is the Bespin Han Solo Black Series figure, and that was actually the head. I sculpted a beard on with clay, with air dry clay, and Han's bangs, I just cut those off with a razor and then kind of cut them so they would sit a little bit more naturally going up. And since that's kind of how I have my hair, of course on this figure the hair is a little bit longer than what mine is now, but before getting a haircut, that's pretty accurate. And it's the young Han Solo arms and jacket that have been repainted, Bespin Han Solo shirt that's been repainted, and everything else is pretty much left the same aside from just adding some additional pockets and accessories on there. But that's a pretty fun one. If you follow me on Instagram under main figure photos, you'll have seen him plenty of times, so that's fun. I have someone that goes with him, which I'll show in another video. Next, this is probably the favorite figure in my collection so far. It is the new look that Boba Fett has in The Mandalorian, also known as Boba Fresh. So let's get in close on him too. or also called the re-armored Boba Fett. It's his clean look with his repainted armor, and I made this one using the Bandai Boba Fett. It was actually the Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett, because that one on Amazon is significantly cheaper than the Return of the Jedi version. Please focus. But that did leave me with quite a few modifications I needed to make. So, additionally, Boba Fett in The Mandalorian pretty much has his Return of the Jedi gear, so I had to modify this gauntlet with sort of a box right here, because he's got two, I think it's like his sidearm blaster, but it's just exposed metal right there. But the Return of the Jedi gauntlet, it's kind of concealed in this box-like thing. So that is actually cardstock that I super glued on there to make that sort of enclosure on it. And Boba Fett has black pipes attached to his gauntlets in the show. This is actually thick, I think kind of like hemp string, and that's what I use. I put 3 of those on there, and I think it works well for pipes. On the figure, I think the point comes across. I had to do some painting. Make sure if you do this figure that you put the black kill stripe behind the yellow ones, because he has a black kill stripe on there now. There's some additional things I need to do to this figure, which I'll probably get around to at some point. Up here on his rocket, I need an orange mark up here around the rocket. I need to make, proper Mandalorian hand guards to go on his hands, but he comes with like 6 different hands, and that's going to be a pain to make 6 of those. He could probably use a more accurate holster, and it's quite a bit more work that needs to go into him, but I don't feel like doing all that yet. So for the most part, I'm happy with him how he is. Really, I'll probably just maybe do that orange mark on there. This was one of the hardest customs I made, because I actually had to make soft goods for a 6-inch figure, which I've never done before. So it was kind of hard, but I had some patterns to go off of. But I think he looks really good. A good tip for doing soft goods, somebody on Instagram told me _ order 66. That's the word 60 and then the number 6. He was the one that told me when you're doing soft goods, use women's clothing, because I have another Boba Fett figure with soft goods that I'll show in another video where I used a black t-shirt, and I wasn't wild about the way the black t-shirt looked, but he suggested use women clothing because blouses and stuff are usually textured. They're not made out of t-shirt material, and it'll just give it an overall better look. And he was right. This is some elastic that I put on there. I don't remember why I used elastic there, but I like the way it looks. So yeah, use women's clothing. Find a pattern on Instagram or on Google Images on there for the clothing. It's not too hard. His boot spats, I guess, were made just from some pleather that came off like an old coin purse thing. And he looks really good. I really like this Bandai kit. It's the first Bandai kit I'd ever gotten. So I really liked it because the armor, I did have to use a Dremel to remove the plastic keys where you would click it into place on the figure. And I had to remove those with a Dremel so I could just simply glue them into place. And that was so much easier because everything is in separate pieces, so you could paint everything separately without having to mask off or clean up any extra paint mess that you made. You can paint everything individually, put it all together, and it looks really good. The armor simply was glued on to the fabric shirt that I made, along with like the pants, so it really kind of has a natural motion to them. But this is a really cool figure. He looks really good in photos, and I'm just JS. If you want the likes on the gram, make you a boba like this and just post pictures of him, and people love it. Now this one is not so much a custom as it is a modification, but it's the Beskar version of Din Djarin, or the Mandalorian, so let's check him out. Completely different head sculpt, bought from Watto's Scrapyard, link in the description. It looks a million times better than the squatty, lousy helmet sculpt from Hasbro, which is really weird because Hasbro did, I think, a really good job on the head sculpt on the 3.75 inch figure, so why was it so lousy for an even larger figure? I don't know, but Watto's Scrapyard helmet looks really good. I just simply painted it silver and painted the visor, which I could have done a better job painting the visor, but it's not bad. So, and also, like I said, as soon as I took him out the box, I scrapped the plastic cape that he came with and gave him a soft goods cape. It's kind of a light but floppy fabric, so it goes around his jetpack a little bit more naturally, although it does kind of want to stick out. A lot of people make like wired capes, so you don't have to contend with that. I painted just a little bit of silver on his jetpack, and you pop that off, and the cape goes down behind him, and it looks a lot better. That plastic cape sucks, and now he can sit good with this. You don't have to remove the cape if you want him to have his jetpack. Before you make a soft good cape, the only way you can wear his jetpack is if you take off the plastic cape. And so get it, make those modifications. Watto's Scrapyard. These head sculpts are like 15 bucks, and they're pretty easy to paint, especially with this, just silver and black, and you can add some additional weathering if you want to, but I didn't want to. Do that, you'll have a much better Mando for your collection. And lastly, we'll check out this Jodo cast custom. Alright, so last but not least is that infamous Boba Fett imposter Jodo cast. I believe I first got the idea when I caught a glimpse of one that somebody else had made on Instagram, and that also gave me an idea of pairing him together with Boba Fresh, because as the story with JodoCast goes, is after Boba fell into the Sarlacc pit, he saw an opening to steal Boba's identity in order to get higher paying jobs, and then, well, Mr. Fett finds out and tracks him down, and you can imagine how that went. But I thought but in that comic, Boba looks as we've always known him in his khaki jumpsuit and all that, so I thought it would be cool to take that idea with this Boba and do some footage of Boba going after him. But anyways, this is one of my favorite customs, period, just because it's a really simple paint job. For the most part, this entire figure is just an easy repaint. There's some things I did that you don't even really have to do, but you just buy you a Black Series Boba Fett or even a Bandai kit and repaint it. And the color scheme is just kind of a grayish sort of forest green. I did some orange Jodo cast. I've seen his appearance represented in a couple different ways. One is like this, and another one is with a much more dark blue flight suit with a much darker green armor, and instead of orange it's like a brighter yellow. I much prefer this look. They're the spats I was talking about on the holiday special Boba Fett that I shaved off with a razor. But on this figure, I didn't do any additional painting on his flight suit. All I did was paint the armor. I repainted the jetpack. It's just a really basic white with chips, paint chips, and just some dry brushing on there to make it look a little bit more dingy. He's got some kill stripes, not as many as Boba Fett, keep in mind. And just the overall just the overall look. I tried my best on his insignia and I didn't do a very good job, but so again, his cape is flannel with a painted on stripe on there, and then the flannel was ironed. He's got a little bit more additional accessories like these things.
on his gauntlet. He's got some extra accessories on there. He's got this thing on his belt, but the pockets were removed and the sash was removed. And he's pretty cool. He looks good, and he would even work as just like a background Mandalorian if you're filling up a scene with different characters. But that is Johto cast. Really like how this figure came out. And you could have Boba Fett kick his ass. So,
alright, and there was those 6 figures. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, maybe give it a like, maybe subscribe to this channel too, because we do a whole bunch of other Star Wars related content and stuff that'll be really interesting, so you can stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching.